Hello everyone, and welcome to a special festive edition of my favourite things videos. I've got lots of lovely things that I've been loving and that I think would make wonderful treats for you or for loved ones over the festive period and beyond. So let's dive in. First of all, I want to tell you about my diary for next year. This would make a fantastic gift either for yourself or for a loved one. I really love the Faber Poetry Diaries. I generally get one every year. I especially love their Liberty collaboration ones. I didn't get one in 2025 because I was very disappointed by the cover. It was a mainly black cover, which is just not very me, but they've more than redeemed themselves with this really beautiful one for 2026. I just love this Liberty Faber Poetry Diary. I can't wait to start using it for next year. I think it's gorgeous, and I really like the format of these diaries. They just have a sort of week on a page. It's got enough space, I find, for what I need to jot down. I love that you can discover new poems or rediscover old favourites because they include poems throughout the diary, which I really enjoy because I love poetry. So it's just fantastic for me to have such a beautiful literary diary. That's something I really appreciate. And I think the one for 2026 is very special. I just adore that floral cover. So really excited about this. And then something that I've really enjoyed through the year, you might remember me buying this actually back in April when we went to Jane Austen's house and I bought it at the gift shop there. That's Jane a Day, a 5-year journal. And on each page of the journal, there's a Jane Austen quote, which of course I very much appreciate because I'm such a huge Jane Austen fan. And I think this is a great little diary for those of you who maybe don't want to write pages and pages every day. This is just a really nice option. And even if you do a lot of journaling and you like writing quite long diary entries, I still think this is a nice idea because it's a way to just put down a highlight of the day, essentially, maybe 1 or 2 highlights. You can't really fit more than a couple of sentences. And when you look back through the months, it just sort of brings those moments back into your mind. And I think it's just really nice. It operates a bit like a gratitude journal in that way. And I think it's quite a nice way to use something like this. And having the 5-year journal means that I know in years to come, I'm going to really enjoy looking back at the entries from previous years and hopefully remembering lots of lovely moments. So this is something that I have been really enjoying, and I think it would make a nice stocking stuffer or little gift for someone or for yourself. I have to say too that I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. When I'm really busy, I don't even manage to fill in something like this, but I do always try to record the important moments from the year that I do want to remember. So I do always note those down. And then when I'm a bit calmer, I'll fill it in every day. So yes, it's just a very low key, but lovely little diary, this one. So I wanted to recommend that. And then another stationery thing that I've been loving that's been a fantastic find this year is the wonderful stationery shop Scriptum in Oxford. If you watched my Oxford vlog, you'll have seen that Mum and I discovered this really fabulous stationery shop in Oxford. And the good news is that they have a great online shop. So if you can't get to Oxford, you can have a look at their online shop, and they've got quite a wide range available there, which is great. And I wanted to point out again, these very budget friendly, but really beautiful notebooks that I got while I was there. And they've got a selection online, I believe, that you can browse. They're made in Italy. They're blank notebooks, and they're not very big, but they're still a nice size, especially if you have a specific project in mind that you want a notebook for. That's what I like to use slim notebooks for, is when I have a very specific project, either a book I'm working on or some other creative project, I'll have a notebook that goes with it. And that's when I don't want, a gigantic notebook necessarily. And this kind of thing is very useful for that. I think they're really beautiful. So yes, another favorite thing that I've been really enjoying lately. And then another stationery thing that I wanted to share with you is I really love these cards by Esther Kent. She's got her own website, and this is one that I got very recently. It's a concertina card, and you know how much I love those. Really festive, lovely one that I just think is very charming. It's called Festive Street, and I just love this little festive landscape that she's created. I think it's really charming. So this is, again, a really nice card to send to someone or to use for yourself for a little festive decoration. I always like using concertina cards on top of mantelpieces or bookcases or even little tables because they just make such a nice decoration. But speaking of decorations, I always have to mention Elizabeth Harbour in my festive videos because I absolutely adore her wooden ornaments. There's one sitting behind me here, the Christmas tree. And then I also love her Father Christmas standing ornament, and she also has some really lovely hanging ornaments for the Christmas tree, for instance. If you've seen any of my Christmas vlogs, then you'll have noticed my Elizabeth Harbour collection. She's just got such beautiful things. I really recommend checking her out because I think her Christmas ornaments are just my absolute favourites. They're really beautiful, and yes, she's very, very clever. So another ornament that I love to have at Christmas time, and I try to add a new one each year from her, though I'm not sure if I got a new one this year actually, but I have got quite a few of hers already for the Christmas tree, and yes, they're just really, really beautiful. Something else I've been really enjoying, as has my mum, is the Scribbler, their very first annual. And I think it's such a nice tradition to have annuals for Christmas. I've collected a lot of vintage annuals, both for children and adults, and I always like sort of pulling those out. But I'm really thrilled that the Scribbler are doing the very first annual. The Scribbler is published by Grey Ladies. They've done some wonderful books that they've republished by people like Dee Stevenson and O. Douglas and Susan Scarlett or Noel Stratfield. And they also did for several years a wonderful magazine all about books, just the sort of books that I enjoy, a lot of vintage children's books, as well as more sort of middle-brow women's literature. And that magazine was called The Scribbler, but sadly they stopped doing that this year. However, they have put out an annual. And this has been really lovely to pick up and read in the cosy December evenings, and Mum has really been enjoying it as well. So yes, if you like that sort of book, then definitely have a look at The Scribbler. I've recommended their magazines many times in the past, so you might be aware of them already, but I really am thrilled that they're now doing an annual. And then other magazines I've been enjoying is, of course, The Simple Things. This is always such a favourite magazine of mine. This is their new December issue. And I'm thrilled to say that I have an article in this issue all about Christmas books. So if you'd like to read that, then do have a look out for the December issue of The Simple Things. I remember photographing the article back in September, which was a bit of a challenge, but I was pleased with how Christmassy the images still came out. Here's the first double-page spread of the article. You can see my Elizabeth Harbour ornament proudly there. And yes, this was just a lot of fun to write. I've shared some of my favourite seasonal anthologies, books for winter feasts, books for the spooky season, cozy crime for Christmas, childhood classics, and stories for snow days. So lots of wonderful books that I got to recommend and photograph in here. So that was so much fun. And then something I always enjoy at this time of year is the Country Life Christmas double issue. I always get excited when this comes out. I absolutely adore the cover they have for this year's. It's by Lucy Grossmith, and I always think her illustrations are just so beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to having a proper read of this. But I was very excited to see that my book, the Country Commonplace book, was mentioned in this edition of Country Life. Some of the contributors shared their books of the year in this issue, and Gavin Plumley very kindly chose the Country Commonplace book as one of his books of the year. So it was just really thrilling to me to see my book mentioned in this really beautiful issue of Country Life. So that was a real thrill, but there are so many wonderful articles in here, and I can't wait to read it all cover to cover. Of course, another thing I love this time of year is classic Christmas films. And I have to say, my favourites are the really old classics. So I think my very favourite Christmas movie is The Bishop's Wife. If you've never seen that, then please watch it. I think it's very reasonable to rent or to buy on Amazon Prime, and it might be available to watch for free other places, I'm not sure, but it's so worthwhile. Cary Grant plays a very dashing angel in the film, and it's just full of great humor, really beautiful, poignant moments, and it's just the most wonderful Christmas film. So Mum and I actually curled up the other night on the sofa and watched it together, and it was just brilliant to see it again, and it's just one of our little traditions that we love to watch that film together. So absolutely do watch that if you've never seen it before. It's a Wonderful Life, another classic Christmas film for me, again featuring an angel, but just such a marvelous film, and that's a tradition as well to watch that one around Christmas time. And then actually this year I discovered a new to me old Christmas film that I really enjoyed. It's called Christmas in Connecticut, and I thought it was hilarious. It's about a female journalist whose editor had persuaded her to write a column as if she was living as a sort of, wonderful housewife and mother on this farm in Connecticut and was this incredible cook. Now, the reality is she's a single woman who lives in a flat in New York and can't cook at all. And everything sort of starts falling apart when the owner of the magazine wants her to host an injured sailor. This is set during World War II. He wants her to host this sailor at her farm in Connecticut, so things start to get very complicated, and this is obviously all set over Christmas too. It's a real Christmas film, but it's just actually very funny, and I really enjoyed it. So yes, I think that will become another one that I'll return to at Christmas time and really enjoy. And then speaking of vintage things, because like I said, it's really those vintage films that really speak Christmas to me, I also love to pull out some vintage books at Christmas time, and I also think they make a wonderful gift to any book lover in your life. One that's obviously very special for Christmas is this beautiful edition of The Cricket on the Hearth by Charles Dickens, illustrated by C.E. Brock. This is one I'm looking forward to picking up myself over the quiet Christmas time and just enjoying the story again. I just love the illustrations, and I just think these old editions are very, very special. This is Dent, the publisher. This one is from 1906, which I just think is amazing. And Dickens, of course, is always a classic at Christmas time. And The Cricket on the Hearth is a lovely one. And just to have this very old edition, I think, is really special and would make a really memorable and lovely Christmas gift for someone. And then one of my favourite moments from my literary membership, Seasons of Story, one of my favourite moments from the past year in Seasons of Story was doing our book club discussion of Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. And again, this is just such a beautiful old edition of Cranford. I just had so much fun returning to this novel with the Seasons of Story community, and I got this really lovely edition, which I think is my favourite of the old editions that I've seen of her books. It's illustrated by Hugh Thompson. This one has been published by Macmillan and Co. in 1907, and I just love the way the chapters start out with an illustration, and the first letter is illustrated too. I just think they're very witty, actually, the illustrations, and very special. So again, I do think a vintage edition of a classic book that you know someone loves just makes a wonderful Christmas gift. But also, if you are running out of time and you have book lovers in your life, then I must do a little plug for Seasons of Story, which I have so much fun doing. It's my Substack, and if you become a member of Seasons of Story, or if you gift a membership, and I'll put a link in the description box of how you can gift a membership to Seasons of Story, it really does open up a world of literary treasures, I think, because I share so much more about the books that I love. I lead the Seasons of Classics book club along with my mum, and she's also going to be doing a slow guided read along of Ballet Shoes by Noel Stratfield in the new year. And our winter book club choice for the Seasons of Story community is going to be The Homemaker by Dorothy Canfield Fisher. We're having a bit of an American theme for the classics we choose next year, because it will be the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So we thought it would be appropriate to choose some American classics. But you also get some podcast episodes where Mum and I chat about books. Mum does her seasonal larder column where she shares lots of brilliant ideas for what to cook each month, and you get some behind the scenes from me, a few extra videos as well, and just lots of lovely bookish things. And it's a great literary community, so I wanted to share that as well. And of course, if you do want a last minute gift, then that would be a perfect one for any bookworms in your life. But talking of books, my two sort of standout Christmas reads from this year have been Death in Ambush by Susan Gilruth and The 12 Days of Christmas by Susan Stokes-Chapman. I just talked about these in my most recent video about books to read and in cozy December evening, so I won't say too much more about them in this video, but I was really blown away by both of these. These have now become two new favourite Christmas reads that I know I'll be pulling out each year. This one has just been republished this year, and then this is a new book that's come out in 2025, but it's set in Regency England and is utterly fabulous. And then this one is just a wonderful cozy Christmas crime, sort of golden age classic style mystery, and I just thoroughly enjoyed both of them, so absolutely wanted to mention those again. And then something I also love to do at this time of year is to listen to a festive audiobook, or more than one, I have to say. I just finished listening to Envious Casca, or The Christmas Party is I think the more modern title. That's a Georgette Hare mystery, and that one is always a fun listen. I've been listening to that for many Christmases ever since I was a teenager, but it's just a real sort of classic Christmas mystery. Agatha Christie is one that I turn to a lot. I love the Hercule Poirot short stories, as well as the Miss Marple short stories, especially A Christmas Tragedy, to listen to that one at Christmas time. The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding is a wonderful Poirot one. And of course, I love her longer wintry mysteries as well, like the Sitterford Mystery and Hercule Poirot's Christmas. But I just love listening to those at this time of year. It's a perfect thing to do when I'm making sausage rolls or mince pies or other festive goodies, is to actually listen to a wonderful Christmas mystery at the same time. That's just such a fun thing to do. So I will put a link to some of my favourite audio editions of these stories in the video description box as well. And then a couple of beauty things I wanted to talk about. This time of year, I do really try to remember to use hand cream more, because I do find that my hands get dry as well as the rest of my skin gets a lot more dry this time of year. And I love the L'Occitane almond hand cream. I love the smell of almonds, and this hand cream, it just smells delicious. Actually, I'll just pop a little bit on now. It smells delicious, and it's just a really nice cream that is quite lightweight. It doesn't feel sort of too cloying, but it's just nice. I try to remember to have this little tube right by my chair, which I like to sit in and read in the evenings, and if I have that sort of right on the table next to my chair, then I remember to pick it up and to use it. So I try and do that, and it's just really nice. It makes your hands smell nice, but it's not sort of too overpowering a scent either. But I do love an almond scent. And then I'm always on the lookout for good lip balms, and a real discovery for me over this past year has been LA Bruquette and their skincare. I'm not actually quite sure how you say their brand name. I just go with LA Bruquette, but I'm not really sure what's correct. It's a Swedish-based company, and they do really lovely sort of natural skincare, and I very much like their lip balm. This is the Orange Blossom scent, and it's just a nice fat tube, but I've been using this for months already, and it's really good. I really like it. But I like a lot of their skincare, body care. It's all really nice. I mean, I like it so much I am actually ordering it from Sweden. Unfortunately, it's not really easily available in the UK. I think Liberty stock a few things, but not very much. So I do actually order it from LA Bruquette itself. And I like their body creams a lot. This one I'm pretty much out of. It was from the summer beach rose scent, which was lovely. And I like their exfoliating body serum. But I really recommend checking out their products. I think that they're fabulous. And that's been something that I've just been using a lot and really enjoying this year. And then something else that I've actually appreciated over the past year is actually this old-fashioned hourglass sand timer. I find that when I'm working on particularly creative projects, whether that's writing an article for Seasons of Story or working on my book, I really try to sort of put my phone away so I don't get distracted by too many notifications. However, I also am trying to not just sit at a computer for hours and hours at a time, and not getting up and moving a bit. And I had been using my phone as a timer, but I found that could be quite distracting to have my phone near me. So I got this old-fashioned 45-minute timer. And I find that this works well. I sort of put it by my laptop, and it reminds me after sort of 45 minutes to just get up and like stretch a little bit, move around, go make a cup of tea. Sometimes I have to admit, because I don't hear it, I forget to look and I just get so engrossed I keep working. But normally, I will look up and see that the 45 minutes are up and it's time to get moving. And I just like having something like this that, is silent as well, and it isn't too distracting, but does remind me of the time and to get up and move. So I wanted to share that for any of you who maybe also want some kind of timer, but sort of want a more analog version. And then a lovely surprise in December was getting a Fortnum & Mason hamper from a very dear friend. And one of the things in the hamper I've had in years past, was thrilled to get some for this year, which is the Fortnum & Mason Christmas black tea bags. These are just very special to enjoy at this time of year. They've got the most lovely Christmassy scent. I just love this tea. It's just so festive. It's quite citrusy, and I don't know, it just smells like Christmas, which I love. And that's just so nice to have for a special little treat in December. It's a really lovely tea, and the beautiful tin is just a stunner as well. I'm definitely going to have to keep this, I think, because it's just such a beautiful tin. So this has been another thing that I've been loving lately, and it would also make a lovely gift for any tea lovers in your life. And then on the food theme, I wanted to share a couple Christmassy cookbooks that I've been loving lately. This one I actually got last year, but I got it pretty late in the year, so I don't think I really had a chance to talk about it on my channel. But I love Jane Lovett. I think she's just a brilliant cookbook writer. I have a lot of her cookbooks, and this one, the Get Ahead Christmas Cook, is so good. So many great ideas for festive recipes, but you could make so many of them just all through the winter. Really, really good ones. Tips on how to make them ahead of time. But there are some wonderful drinks as well as food, and just all kinds of great recipes in here. So this is a real favorite already, and I think it deserves more attention than it's had, really, because I think it's such a good cookbook for the festive season. And then new out this year is Skye McAlpine's The Christmas Companion, Recipes, Crafts and Inspiration for a Magical Festive Season. I mean, this is so gorgeous. It really can double as a coffee table book, because it's the type of book you just want to pick up and admire the beautiful photography sort of all through it. I mean, I love Skye McAlpine's photos. They're just always stunning. And her ideas for parties, I really love. And yes, she's just got some fabulous recipes in here too. Quite a few sort of simple ones, which I like as well. So wanted to share this. And then I do at this time of year love to turn to some literary anthologies. I always like to have some on the coffee table or on my bedside table. And these two are ones that I return to again and again over many years actually now I've had these. And that's A Literary Christmas, an anthology by the British Library, and then A Children's Literary Christmas, an anthology edited by Anna James. And these are both just really charming and two real favourites of mine. If you'd love to listen to something festive, then Beth Kempton does the Calm Christmas podcast, which goes with her book that came out quite a few years ago. But I love that she brings the podcast back for every sort of November to December, and it is a lovely festive listen. Again, something that's really nice to put on and listen to whilst you're wrapping presents or making some Christmas goodies or writing Christmas cards. That's just the sort of thing I like to do, is to put on a podcast like the Calm Christmas one, or some Christmas carols or something like that. So yeah, something else to check out if you'd like a good listen over December. And then finally, Christmas wouldn't be Christmas for me without a really lovely candle. And this is my favourite by Angela Flanders, Bois de Seville. I love this one for Christmas. It's so citrusy and beautiful, and I love to light it in the evenings and just enjoy its delicious scent. But anyway, those are all of my favourite things for the festive period. I hope you enjoyed this list from me. I hope you're having a wonderful December, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.